Everybody, video here for you today. I've got a few places around the world that I want to talk about this week before I get back to some ancient America videos closer to the weekend coming up. This is a place. I want to thank a special contributor to the channel for this one. We are going down to the Longyou Caves right down here. It was right down here in 1992 that a farmer's curiosity led to a discovery of a great mystery right down in this area here. I'll just talk about it here. In the area, there were these little ponds here. They seemed like openings. One farmer's curiosity, he wanted to get to the bottom of if the legend was true that these little ponds were bottomless ponds. They had no bottom to them. So he decided to drain one of these, take all the water out of it. What he found was very remarkable. After several more pumps were added, and this place was pumped out for a couple weeks, this is what was found down here. An ancient cave system carved out by man at some point in history. The answers for this are kind of just guesses. The true history of this is probably lost. Here's a story from 2018. This is Vision Times. A lot of websites have covered this. I'll mention a few. The mystery of the high-tech tool marks in China's ancient Longyou Caves. Here's a look from inside the cave right here. Here it says, the Longyou Caves are a series of large artificial sandstone caverns located at Phoenix Hill, close to the village of Xi'an by the Q River, Lingyou County in China's Zhejiang province. The caves were discovered by local farmers who were pumping water out of 5 small pools on rough flat ground in 1992. The standard line on these is they were built around a little over 2,000 years ago. It says scientists from around the world wonder how the caves have been able to keep their structural integrity for such a long time. Then there is a question of the tool marks here. Here's the Longyou Caves mystery, another look inside of this impressive underground cavern here, carved by man. Now, about the tool marks, it says yesterday's tool marks from tomorrow. Here's the modern machinery. Look inside Longyou Caves. It's part of the ceiling area here. It says, let's have a look at some interesting facts relating to the tool marks in Longyou Caves. The caves were carved manually, leaving tool marks. The tool marks are very uniform. They are almost perfectly aligned to one another, almost as if they were made by a machine of some sort. It says the tool marks in Longyou Caves are almost identical to those in Sierra de San Cristobal Cave in Spain, and the tool marks are spread over the floors, walls, and ceilings of the caverns. Some believe the tool marks' patterns are symbolic. The pattern covering the walls and cave ceilings are uniform. It's just a big mystery here. Tool marks, very evenly spaced throughout the whole cave system here. There might be as many as 36 of these underground caverns carved in this immediate area here. It says it would have taken 1,000 people working 24 hours a day, about 6 years to carve all these out. Where did all the material go? Why is there no record of this? Well, those are questions. Here's a few more looks inside of the cave. Was there a couple different periods of building here? How far back does the original construction go? What is put out about this place is just kind of one answer was put out, and then it's just been kind of stuck to. But people have been bringing up questions about this place. There was over 1 million cubic meters of stone removed from this place at one time. There is not a single trace of it today, so where did all that go? That's just one of the questions. We don't get a lot of comprehensive answers on ancient sites coming out of China, but I've covered these quite extensively, maybe made a dozen videos total. Here is just a couple. In this video, I showed the China pyramids, and a 13,500-year-old burial was discovered. This one talked about the similarity, ancient China and ancient Egypt here, their concept of Orion, heaven, and the afterlife. Here's another look inside of this place. There are over 24 of these caves in separate areas. This is the main one, the most impressive one. These very well could have been carved over 2,000 years ago. Maybe that story is right, but there's just not a lot of solid answers and confusing stuff related to that time period. Of course, we have ancient rock tombs cut in the earth in ancient Egypt, Valley of the Kings, other places. And a lot of those underground chambers have pillars in them, 4 of them. That's a story from very, very ancient Egypt. These pillars have a kind of a foundational purpose, a structural purpose, or do these have symbolic meanings to a very ancient story? These are all questions I ask. Now, there are some carvings on these pillars and the walls in a few places. Seems these might be celestial tails. There you see what looks like a dragon tail coming down. Does that have some meaning? Something devastating that happened in the ancient past? Well, I wonder. Here's another area inside. You notice the uniformed groove marks on the ceiling. What kind of technique would have carved this place out? That's a great mystery. But you see some carvings in the walls here. Did people get in here a little over 2,000 years ago and put their art on an already ancient place? I wonder if this was built 2,200 years ago, what kind of technique did they use here? It's a big mystery. But the depictions of the animals and these little scenes on the walls appear to be celestial events in the ancient past, or celestial tales about things that were very important to them that were located in the heavens. I think this is a pretty good mystery. These places filled with water until one curious farmer decided to drain one of these and found this place. No tools were ever found. The rubble, where'd it go? There are a lot of questions with this, but I'm just going to play a clip from a shareable video now. I have used a lecture from this channel before. I will leave all the appropriate links below so you can watch the full video. But these are kind of fun lectures and good information too, so glad to add it to this video. But here is a lecture from a few years ago talking about this ancient place here and the mysteries that lie within. There was a lot of ideas put forward for these, quarries, other things, but she just goes over the evidence. Had a few laughs listening to this too. That's always welcome. Here you go.
Quarries, like, oh, we discovered some quarries. It's not quite as exciting. So actually the discovery of these didn't really get known for another 6 years when some other scientists heard about it and came on by and were like, about that quarry idea. So in defense of the quarry theory, the caves are along a river and, the stone was definitely shipped down that river because there's no evidence locally of what happened to all of that stone. And if it was a quarry, it wouldn't really, the building of it wouldn't necessarily be worth mentioning in the history books, would make sense. But if quarrying sandstone was the idea, why make literally the most impractical quarry ever? Where instead of looking like this, where you can just go in and get rock, it's more of a carry that rock up through a small staircase through a tiny hole in the roof kind of situation. Also, there's the matter of decoration, and the scientists who are still in the it's a quarry camp, admit that definitely, okay, maybe it started as a quarry, but it was used for something else later, but they have no idea what that would be. Science. So another theory put forward is that the caves were storage areas, so perhaps storage for grain. And maybe, again, not necessarily interesting enough to go down in the history books, but many consider this theory unlikely because why go to so much trouble for a storage area for things underground, especially food, which, when held in a cave isn't necessarily the best place to put it when it comes to, keeping them good long term. Okay. Another theory, the general time period the caves are believed to be from is during the Warring States period. So there were a lot of battles going on, and there are some scholars who believe that the caves were sort of a secret staging ground for military and military supplies. But if the caves, if the caves were an emperor's secret project, again, that would make sense why it was deleted from the history books. But there are others who disagree with this, noting that such a massive scale project doesn't really fit with the whole idea of like a covert mission, covert military operation. It would have been anything but covert. So, others believe that the caves may have been a palace, but if they were intended as living quarters, then why weren't there any sort of infrastructure rooms inside, and why were they empty? That last point, why were they empty, goes against another theory that the caves were designed to be a mausoleum. Because, okay, even if your chosen mausoleum decor scheme isn't 8,000 terracotta warrior chic, by definition, you put something in a mausoleum. And aside from a few pieces of pottery and those steel chisels that we saw a moment ago, there was nothing. So basically, the long and short of it is there is no scientific consensus to what these caves were made for. I mean, of course, there's an internet consensus. But okay, my favorite part about the Longyou Cave alien conspiracy theorists is that even they debunk their own theory because they're like, wait, these were man-made, carved by hand. Aliens have technology. Why would they spend so much time carving these by hand? And if it was because it was like an artisanally crafted gift to Earth, like, why would they then not tell us about them? So basically, like, even the people who have an answer to everything are puzzled. And I mean, that's kind of the amazing thing about the Longyou Caves is that, you know, the like who, what, where, when, how, why is just one big question mark. I mean, okay, we've got the where, but do we? So this and this, these aren't the Longyou Caves, but they are man-made and they're ancient and they're covered in similar decorative pattern, line chisel marks. These are the Huashan Caves, which are basically the same distance from the Longyou Caves as we are right now from Monterey. Well, they have a arguably better modern lighting scheme than the Longyou Caves. Like, the other similarities are very sort of unnervingly similar. They were also carved into a hill. They were also accidentally discovered by a farmer this time in 2000. There are 36 of them. And in terms of what they were, like, rewind a couple minutes for all those hypotheses and the reasons why those hypotheses are doubted, same thing. So, I mean, there's something really magical about this story that I love, and that, you know, the unknown factor is just so pervasive. It's unknown to history, it's unknown to scientific consensus. Frankly, I mean, it's unknown to most Americans. Like, unless I've talked your ear about this already, or you are a visitor of alien conspiracy sites, I'm gonna guess that you probably haven't heard of these before. I hadn't until a couple months ago when I was doing research for an art project. And when I was doing research about them for this talk, I had to hire a translator because like 99% of the information out there is in Chinese, including a very amusing report that a journalist did in 1999 when the Chinese Ministry of Culture and Tourism and scientists held this big summit at the Longyou Caves. And basically what the reporter said is like, he kind of doubted the Chinese Ministry of Culture and Tourism's commitment to sparkle motion when it came to figuring this out. And like, to paraphrase, he's like, well, I'm not saying they're not working on it. It's the appeal of the unknown that's driving the tourism. And like, I mean, they're not wrong. It's definitely why it was, you know, I mean, it's been added like to my bucket list. It's, you know, it's the allure, right? There is this really amazing thing about the curiosity of the unknown that we have no idea. And I mean, that's what discovered them in the first place. Like, that is my favorite part about this story, that it was one dude's curiosity about a pond that led to basically the discovery of what one could argue is like one of the wonders of the world.
I thought this one was very interesting to do, exploring the unknown past of this world on this channel. Here's a look at some of these ancient depictions right here. What does this represent? Probably a celestial tale in my mind. That is a video from China down here. I believe earlier in the video I said that there was at least 36 of these caves at the Longyou site. Well, there's over 24 of them, and there's 36 of them at that other site there. So that might have been a little misstatement from earlier in the video, but I thought that was very interesting. We have a whole lot of ancient history come from China that we are just starting to learn about. I want to thank somebody special for that idea, for that video. I enjoyed doing it. Hope you thought that was interesting, and you all have. Very nice.